Okay. All right, let's call to order the meeting of the Snoqualmie Salary Commission. And if present, Chairman Jennifer Bragg. Oh, not Gary. I'm sorry, my picture there says Gary. That's because our Zoom account is in his name for some reason. So Graham, while you introduce yourself, I will change that.
Graham Rocks. Present.
And Michael Arisman, present.
And then also Dean.
Yes, present.
Okay. And once again, if I may put myself at the top of the agenda, I was thinking it might make sense to, in preparation for a final decision, which is our goal today, to do really briefly a review of the process that we have considered, the processes that we have considered to date for calculation of the mayor's salary. And there basically have been 4 processes that we have discussed. Averaging the salaries of the 8 comparable cities, which yields $53,000. The second is taking the 4 highest levels of compensation, removing the highest and lowest, and then averaging the remaining 2, which yields compensation of $66,500. The third was beginning with all 8 comparable cities, discarding the highest and lowest, then selecting and averaging the next highest and lowest, which yields a salary of $60,000. And finally, eliminating Edgewood, which is the highest number from the 8 cities, basically because the mayor there serves as the city administrator, which explains the very high level of compensation for that role. So if we eliminate Edgewood and then take the remaining 7, it yields a salary of $55,000. All of these numbers fall within the 75th percentile of the entire sampling, the eight in our sample. I think also that in our meetings to date, we have agreed that under the leadership of the mayor and the council, Snoqualmie has achieved a superior quality of life and a very much enhanced reputation in the region. And it's clear that efforts to sustain that quality of life and also to increase the revenues of the city for the benefits of its residents are ongoing. And I would throw out there as an example of that, the Mill Pond development, which is ongoing and taking a great deal of time and generating some important interest for the community. And those kinds of things do require the strong leadership of the mayor and the active involvement of the council. And then I think there is also an agreement very early on among us that the salaries of the mayor and the council should be the sole source of compensation for them. And there should be no additional compensation for attendance at meetings, city meetings, and no reimbursement for mileage. So I guess my first question to you is, does that capture, you think that accurately states where we are?
I can't hear Michael. Can you hear him?
No, I can't hear Michael either.
Oh, sorry about that. I had my mute on.
Okay.
So I agree 100% with that. I think there's 2 other components in addition to what you described as well. One of those is to change the code that removes the FTE status, and that the role is the role regardless of the number of hours worked. I think that's another component. The final component is related to the mayor only and has 2 components related to benefits. The first is to decouple the requirements for the city council and the mayor as elected officials to have 50% participate, decouple those 2 roles, treat the mayor independently, and allow the mayor to participate in the bonus plan if he or she desires to, and not make that same available to the city council.
Okay. And I think, so let's then go down the list. I think what I've got here, and you probably haven't gotten a chance to look at this, Michael, since you were on the road. Kind of those last 2 points captured kind of as the last two issues to address today.
Yeah,
so,
I read them, by the way. I thought it was a very good summary. And so, but let's see if Graham has any questions.
Okay, well, let's start with the salary of the mayor. We had a tentative conclusion of 55,000. And I guess, are we ready to vote on that? Or do we want to go through all the questions and then come back to that and vote after we've discussed each of the issues?
That's what I would prefer, yes.
Okay, all right, so that where we are at this point, tentatively conclusion of 55,000. The salary of council, again, tentative conclusion, 10,800. The COLA question, we had a tentative conclusion of no COLA for 2024, but I know that Graham wants to further discussion of that matter.
Yeah, I would simply say, why not? Why not?
Well, I believe, first of all, if it was a longer period of time, I'd be all for it. But it's only 2 years. And in fact, it's less than 2 years. It's about 18 months now, 20 months roughly. And the increase we're about to put in is over 50%.
Okay,
57%, I believe, in total.
I think it's 52.
52%. And typically the way COLAs, as I've negotiated them over the years, you determine what the final outcome will be, and then you'll have a COLA adjustment in between. In other words, what it does is essentially lands you at the end of the term with the desired salary outcome and uses that as a stepping function in between. What we're essentially doing is giving all of the money up front. So if we were to do a COLA, it would not be 55,000, it would be 55,000 plus the COLA percentage that we're actually deciding on.
yes.
For 2024.
Well,
correct, because we would not be changing the salary to 55,000. We'd be changing the salary to 55,000 plus a COLA. So that's what we'd be voting on, is a higher salary, not 55.
For 2024.
Correct, but that's our term, right? That's our term.
Right.
So our term is 2023 and 2024.
Correct.
So whatever we vote on becomes the final salary for essentially what we're making the city accountable for paying is that total, not 55 plus a COLA. You know, it's there. You have to think about it as 55 times, let's say if the COLA was 10%, it would be, what would that be? About 60,000. It would be the salary we'd be determining. So if we want to have that discussion, we should, but the thought process I had was it's a significant increase. Let's just give it to them all up front.
Michael, did you read what I put together that was sent to you a few days ago?
I did. Yeah, I did skim through all of that. And, you know,
so are you persuaded by it? Because we can just cut to a vote right now, because if you weren't persuaded by it, then I'm not good with 55,000.
I was not, well, if you're asking whether or not I agreed it should be higher than 55,000, I do not. If you're asking whether or not you made a compelling argument for it, I'd give you credit for that, and I'd say you did. The other factor, though, that I was looking at is what we discussed the other night, which is essentially what we'd be doing is completely not just giving a 50% increase in an economy where that's absolutely unheard of, but we'd be almost rewriting how the entire city views these positions. And I felt that was out of scope. I thought a 50%, 52% increase was more than adequate to move us in that direction and then let a different set of people look at the same information and see if on the next round, if they want to move it again. So that's where I came out.
Well, let me ask you a question. We keep going back to the math, and my point is you're starting from a ridiculously low base. I could argue that a base for the last 3 or 4 years would have been $45,000 or $50,000. If I start at $30,000, which whether we like the FTE argument or not, that is a fact. It was $30,000 for quarter time. I could argue that full time was $120,000. Now that's a little out there, I acknowledge that. But I reject the argument that because the mayor was underpaid, that we should make a calculation that says, well, this is a 50% increase. It's 50% increase over a fictitious number.
But what's challenging with that, and if we were looking at a scenario with non-elected officials, I might actually agree with you. But for elected officials, these group of people signed up, ran campaigns, and wanted these jobs at those salaries. There wasn't anything, it wasn't a bait and switch. There was no, hey, we thought the job should have paid X because this was market. They knew exactly what it was. They ran and they wanted these roles. And so what we are now doing, and they ran and wanted these roles under the previous, or shall we say current compensation structure. And I think they probably, I can't speak to them, but I think they probably did it for the right reasons because they want to contribute, they want to give back to their community, and we appreciate that role. So we are now giving a 50% increase over what they knowingly signed up for. So that's why it's a little different for me than it normally would be when I look at compensation.
Well, I understand your argument. I'm looking at what I view my role is under the relevant definition of a salary commissioner. And the thing that stands out to me is fairness. And I'm not looking just at this mayor, I'm looking at future mayors. And the fact that it was $30,000, I can understand your argument. She took the job on that basis in the case of the current mayor, but it was a fictitious number. And I can't speak to whether it's... Can I finish?
Yeah, please.
I can just eliminate the $30,000 in my mind, eliminate it completely and say, what is fair compensation for the mayor, which is what my mandate is. My mandate is not political. That's for others to deal with. And there is no calculation I can make, and forget the 30 grand for a minute, that tells me that the mayor, regardless of the FTE, the fairness is, I think, more like $65,000. But my two fellow commissioners are more comfortable at 55, and I'm willing to go along with that. But the benefit section of this thing, I obviously has a cost, and I think the mayor should have the same benefits of any other employee there.
Well, I don't disagree. I think you make some really good points, and I'm not vehemently opposed to them. Just the opposite. I think the issue though is when I look at all of the data and all of the work that we did, and I think about the 75th percentile and higher than the 75th percentile, really, that doesn't seem an outrageous place to be. Now, I mean, we can make an argument that it should be the 90th percentile, but that's a difficult argument to make. The data, I think, definitely supports 75th. So this is a really, really big increase. Now, I would be willing to split the difference with you and say we'll do 55 plus a COLA, and that gets us a little bit closer, and then let the next commission take a look at it and say, do they want to bump it a little bit further? But I have to assume that my job is not to right wrongs, because I'm assuming that the people that did this before and put this in place long before I got involved in it had a reason for it and wrote the code the way they did and did it on purpose. And so we're going in, doubling the salary, right? Or giving a 50% increase, really significant increase. And I'd be willing to take it even higher. So if we did the math and we got her to 60 in 2024, that's splitting the difference between the two. I'd be comfortable with that. But I think anything else is just pushing the limits of, I think 75th, 80th percentile, maybe. Yeah. Okay. 90th, 95th. That's hard for me to go. That seems a little extreme.
Okay. So do I understand correctly then that the three of us can agree on the 55 plus a COLA, and then move on to the question of benefits?
Well, I think that's up to Graham. I made the recommendation, but it's entirely up to him.
Yeah. Well, Graham, I understood that you were okay with the 50. Oh, you have not expressed that you're okay with the 55 number?
I'm okay with the 55 number if the mayor has access to benefits.
All right. Well,
but if we add benefits, that is now a 76 number.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you at this point, I actually am not really at a point where I would say I'm okay with offering payment for benefits. I feel like, again, we have to do this stepwise. And the first question is having clarity around what the options are. And we have no such clarity right now. I mean, we don't know whether, we can separate the mayor from the council. We don't know whether there is a 50% rule at all. That's not clear because apparently it was added by the Salary Commission. It was adopted by the Salary Commission as a recommendation in 2018 and 2020, actually with an intention of changing the code. The code was never changed. So we really don't know what the rule is at this point. And I feel like that's really the job of the next commission, to figure out and amend the code, revise the code, so that everybody understands what the rights of the council and the mayor are. To me, the ideal way it would be, what I would like to see, and I don't think it's within our authority to get to this point, is that there is no requirement of a 50% participation, that was accidentally somehow became embedded, even though the plans do not require it. And I think, Dina, that was your thinking, that could be the case, that was a mistake on the part of the 2018 and the 2020 commissions to somehow roll in that 50% rule.
I think that's actually I did get some information from AWC.
Oh, good.
Let me just try to find it. Sorry, having some little bit of, okay. So if I could screen share this. Can you see that?
No.
I can't, no.
I can't.
Okay, let me try again. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so this is from AWC, right? And so this is a review of the elected officials criteria. And it does actually talk about that we can offer it, and that to offer medical. It does say 50% of all elected officials must be enrolled. However, if you scroll down, and it also says benefit participate under number 4, benefit participation for elected officials whose salary and benefits are determined by a salary commission will be individually reviewed. So then I reached out to our HR director, and she basically said, whatever you guys decide, they will change the master agreement with AWC. So it's really up to the commission what you want to do.
Interesting.
Because not
That's
all
very helpful,
cities,
Dina. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
not all cities are salary commission cities.
Yeah. So what we could do, in fact, is what we had described earlier, which is to decouple the council with the mayor and recommend that the mayor have full participation. We'll put the cost of it aside for a second, but the mayor can fully participate outside of this.
I think that would be wise.
Okay.
So then that
I don't see it relevant. I think we talked about this last time. I don't see it relevant for city council. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense at that level, but I totally understand for the mayor. I think they should be able to participate if they wish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you and I are tracking each other, Michael.
Then what is the next? And then the next question is on the same terms as employees?
That would be my recommendation.
What do you think, Michael? In other words, we would be paying, the city would pay the premium for either family or in single or family.
So if we're going to go down the path of this, so what we had talked about last time was they could participate, but at their own expense.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were going to go down the path of having them participate fully, like I said, now we're talking about a $76,000 salary, because that's how you have to think about the math on it. And that would be what, 150%, 128% increase, something like that.
How do you get to?
Do we have any?
How do you get to 76?
Because the premiums, the premiums are 21,000 annually, and so it's just math. So if the city pays the premiums and the city pays the salary, and we're moving the salary to 55, and we're adding a $21,000 cost to the city to pay the benefits, the employee is essentially receiving 76,000 in value.
So that's how is that the right number, Dina? Is that's family or that's single?
I believe that it was almost, it was 21,000 and some change for family.
For family, okay. And then what's the single?
So
I'm not exactly sure, but I thought the single was around 10 or 11.
That's what I was thinking.
I'd have to double check.
Yeah.
And the thought process back to, if we think about it practically, would it benefit a mayor, I guess, to have single coverage? And if single coverage was the only thing optional, is it possible to say the city will pay the single coverage, and if they want to add family, then they pay the delta in premiums themselves?
Doesn't sound unreasonable.
Because if we did 55 and the city will pick up the single benefit coverage, now you're looking at, let's just say it's 10,000, you're looking at 65K of value.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mayor could very easily take the $25,000 salary increase and easily cover the full benefits if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then if we do that, the challenge is that going to apply? I guess I don't understand. Dina made this question for you. If we put that in the commission as it applies to the mayor, will that apply to all future mayors until it's determined otherwise?
Yes.
Yes. And I don't think that's
but then I suppose Yeah, but there's obviously still an opt-out, right? So if the mayor didn't need benefits, then the city just wouldn't participate. It's not an automatic enrollment, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems if we could do that, that seems reasonable to me. That gets us closer to where Graham wanted to be in terms of value, but it breaks it up in a way that I think makes sense. 55K salary, and we cover the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good with that. I'd like now to have the discussion on COLA. And it's a very quick discussion. In this sense, the way inflation is running right now, it's easy to argue that a salary X is worth 0.9X in 14 or 15 months. And that's not an insignificant amount of money. We're talking about thousands of dollars. So just kicking the can down to the next salary commission when we can deal with it now, to me, it's no difference than telling the mayor that every year your salary is worth less, while every employee of the city has that protection. So I don't see what stands in the way of saying COLA, which everyone in the city has, and most every other agreement I've looked at.
Well, I think the hesitation I have again is my sense is that if we wanted to get to COLA, what I would do is back the math up, and I'd say your salary ends at 55 in 24, and it's 42 in 23, and it bumps up again, and then it's 55 in 24. Now, we're essentially spending other people's money on other people. So the money comes from somewhere. And if we make the argument around inflation, then every single taxpayer who's paying these dollars is also going to experience the exact same reduction in their earnings, correct?
No, I don't agree with that, but go ahead.
Well, that's the math. That's the way it works. If we're going to apply a COLA and say that a salary today is worth 0.9 a year from now, then that's all salaries. That's all constituents. That's everyone employed in the city of Snoqualmie. Everybody's salary is impacted the same way by inflation, because inflation doesn't differentiate between the kinds of income you earn, unless, as to your point, you've got income that's adjusted. So all of the taxpayers will see their salaries go down, while the elected official they voted for is going to see their salary go up. And to me, there's a bit of an optics issue there, because what we just decided on is 55 plus another 10,000 in benefits, so essentially 65, when she currently gets 30 today.
Michael, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. You keep going back to the 30 grand number. It's a fictitious number. On the face of it, it's fictitious. But if we're going to keep beating that drum back to the 30, I respect your point of view. I just don't agree with it. And the idea,
right, I mean, but
go ahead.
I hear you. I just don't think we have a choice, because the number is not fictitious. It's the number that the mayor ran on. So, and it's the job that she signed up to do. So I think we're making a really big increase. We started the conversation going from 30 to 55. Okay. So let's say we're readjusting it to where we think it ought to be. Then, since we've been on this call, we just added another 10,000 in value.
Yeah.
So we just jumped it to 65.
Yeah. Although that's only relevant to a mayor who chooses to participate, right?
Correct.
So
but I don't think we can write it in such a way, or maybe we could, if they don't participate in benefits, then they get a 5K bump. I mean, you could do something like that. You could split the difference again.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're overcomplicating it, and I would just ask the question, what is fair? And take the politics out of it and the optics out of it and all the things that are important to you. They're not important to me as a salary commissioner. What is fair?
Yeah, and as a salary commissioner, looking at all the data we looked at, 55,000 is more than fair.
55,000 is average.
It's more than fair. It's 75th percentile.
Average in the city is above average city.
It's the 75th percentile of all of the comparable cities we looked at.
Yeah, it is better than average.
I'd like to see the calculation on the 75th percentile. And by the way, Edgewood doesn't have a police department, doesn't have a fire department, and that's 40% of the budget. That's a complexity issue. So,
and I'm not sure what the voters in Edgewood were thinking.
Well, I don't know. I don't know either. I don't know what they were thinking back at 30 grand on 0.25 FTE either.
Yeah,
but it keeps coming up.
But to me, you can't cherry pick the only outlier that's higher and just ignore all the ones that are lower.
I didn't. So I threw it out.
We threw Edgewood out, definitely.
And so when we throw it out and we look at the rest of the data, that at 55, if we reran all of the data with our mayor at 55K, we are in the 75th percentile or above.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen the data that supports that. Well, that's an average number, and by definition, it's the 50th percentile. But let's just keep moving here. Jennifer, where are you on these issues?
Well, I can see merit in both sides of the argument. I started from the position that I would rather see a COLA and kick the can of health insurance down the road. Take the next 2 years for someone to fix the code so that it's clearer for the next commission. And then the next commission can make the decision about participation in benefits, whether the city pays for participation in benefits. And I think that still is where I would I would prefer to come out.
And if we did that, Jennifer, I would be fine with a COLA. I don't think 10% is the right COLA, but I'd be fine with a COLA. I'd be fine with matching whatever the city employees get.
I gave you the enabling language in there straight out of the city administrator's contract. So it's a specific group, the management group, essentially, as I recall. And there's the language in his agreement, which I gave you.
It's the MMP. So
MMP.
Yeah. And then kick the can of benefits down the road.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not comfortable. Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you.
I'm not. I see no point in kicking the can down the road. But we're just going to go around in a circle on this issue. You all have valid points of view. I have mine. So, Madam Chair, would articulate for me, formulate what it is that you think we can agree on.
All right. At the moment, we have agreement, salary for the mayor of 55, salary for council of 10,800, a COLA at the MMP level for 24, and then leaving the benefits as they are, with the recommendation that the necessary research and revision of the code be done to clarify the rights of council and the mayor to participate in benefits. I think that's where we are.
So the mayor
does the COLA apply? Does the COLA apply also to city council?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Why?
Because they are part-time. If they were working for the city part-time,
but
they would get
paid part-time though too.
They do. They would get a COLA. I think part-time employees get the same cost of living increase as full-time employees. Dina, can you?
Okay, I'm sorry. You're saying COLA. I thought you were talking about benefits.
No, I was talking about COLA.
No, I apologize. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's a small amount, right? So, you know, a small percentage on a small percentage is not significant, but it makes it simpler to just simply say this is what it is in 23. So we're deciding on 23. We're adding a COLA, and then the committee in 24 can make the decision around where they go next, right? They may continue to adjust it up, Graham, to your point. Or they may flatten it, or they may look at benefits or something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. That's fair. That's fair. So where are we? We're at 55 with a COLA.
Plus a COLA.
And where are we on health benefits for the mayor? Are we capping it at 10 grand?
Well, actually, I had stated.
We're rewriting. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had stated my preference at this point of leaving it now as it is, and recommending that we make the code consistent, or that we make the plan consistent with what our understanding of what it should be, the differentiation of mayor and council, and the points that we talked about with Dina, I'm sorry, that as a recommendation, and then leave the question of payment for the mayor's benefits for the next commission. That is my preference at this point.
Okay, well, my preference is we deal with it now. It's not a complex issue to deal with. Dina has outlined that it's not a complex issue to deal with, and it's meaningful, and I think it's fair.
Okay. So on the table is providing for the payment of the rate of single, not for family, but single individual participating in the city's health plans for the mayor only.
Yeah, it's not providing it, but it's providing the option if the mayor elects it. Okay.
All right, I can agree with that. So we're talking about up to whatever the level for single individual is.
Yeah, okay. The single premium amount if the mayor elects it.
Okay. All right.
That's fair.
All right, and then the recommendation that the necessary work be done to make the plans and the code consistent going forward for the benefit of future salary commissions. And also,
Jennifer,
yeah,
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, right now the code contains that 20% restriction that nobody, the way I read it now, nobody gets to participate in the health plans unless 50% of the elected officials do.
Yeah, and we would be changing the code to be in writing, say the mayor is treated differently and separately than the city council.
Yes,
so
which we have the power to do. Which we have the power to do.
Yeah, So we can say that 50% still applies to the city council, but the mayor is treated, and the mayor actually gets benefits and gets at the single coverage rate if they elect it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I guess you're right. We would have to do that now. We would have to do that rewrite now, as opposed to before we submit our recommendation. Our decision is that the code provision is revised to read as follows, and I'll send that language around.
Dina, are you agreeing with what we're saying as it relates to
Yes.
this issue?
Yes, I can agree with that.
Dina,
Yeah,
are you?
it makes sense to me. I mean, I don't have to be in agreement because I'm, you know.
No, I'm talking about the actual process of it. I thought
Right.
The revision.
Yeah, as you put that document up, it says it allows for it right there.
Right. And we just need to make sure our language is clear. So
Yeah.
if the chair prepares some language, and then I'm happy to send some proposed language as well. And so you can
Right.
put that together and then put that in your decision and send it out to everyone because they'll have to sign it.
Yeah, it'll be in draft when it goes out. And I think we could also have the city attorney look at it and approve it. But that would have to be part of the decision to, first of all, to allow the mayor to participate in the plans without any question. And secondly, to provide the subsidy or provide the premium payment.
Yeah. Can I, Dina, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Can't the city attorney just go ahead and draft that now rather than asking Jennifer to draft the appropriate language? Is there something stopping that? Here's the decision. Here's what here is our high level decision. You put it together with the appropriate language.
I think it would delay, having sat in the attorney's seat, it could take a couple of weeks to get that done with the press of other business. So I would rather draft something and submit it for approval.
Okay.
Just to expedite things.
Gotcha. Understand.
Okay, and so I think under that, taking it from that angle, then the question of the fact that the 2018 and 2020 decisions were never codified is irrelevant. It doesn't matter because had they been codified, we would be changing them. So our goal is to do the new language the way it should be and make sure that it gets codified so that the next commission doesn't have the same problem. I guess, though, one question on the redraft of that language is the question of why do we care? I guess, do we want to keep the requirement that 50% of the city council members must decide to participate? Do we want to keep that? I mean, that becomes a cost issue because although we could say that they could participate, but they have to pay their own way, I suppose.
I think the challenge we're going to run into on the city council is one of, we got rid of the ridiculous, part-time status for the mayor. But there's no way you can address that for city council. I mean, you could be on the city council and theoretically, work a few hours a week. I think that's why we talked about it in 2020, that was part of the reason why they had that in there is because, now you're going out and trying to figure out plans for somebody that works a couple hours a week, and it's not cost effective to even cover that, because there's a ton of administration cost that goes into actually doing the benefits. It's not a matter of, hey, they're paying their own way. You're still adding experience rating issues to the plan. You still could get somebody with even a small amount that has some pretty major issues, and then that jacks the rates up for everybody else in the city. Those were some of the rationale that, at least as it was explained to me last time, why that 50% was in place. I'm not arguing for or against it. I just don't think we should change.
Okay. I
think you're right.
Yep, I agree. Okay. Okay, so at this point, I guess, Dina, we need to act individually on these, on the three cost issues. Which would be the salary of the mayor, the salary of council, and the COLA. So we need like 3 separate motions for that.
That would be preferred.
And I guess what we ought to make sure of is what the exact name of the group. It's
the MNP. It's the management and professionals.
Management and professionals. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
Management and professionals. Okay. So are we comfortable proceeding to motions on those and actions on those 3?
Yes.
Okay. All right. May I have a motion on the salary of the mayor?
Michael?
I motion that we change the salary of the mayor to $55,000.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. Salary of council. May I have a motion, please?
I motion that we increase the salary of city council members to $900 a month or $10,800 annually.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3 is the cost of living adjustment for council and the mayor for 2024. May I have a motion, please?
Clarification, please. And Michael, you deal with these things, I'm sure. When we say 2024, so January 2024 rolls around and the city management group as a group has a COLA coverage. And that is for the year 2023. So you're
I believe
behind, right?
Yeah, so the way it works is the salary would be, if the salaries we voted for on the first 2 would go into effect whenever this goes into effect. I don't know the timing of that exactly. Then Dina, do you know the timing of when the COLA adjustments are made for the other city employees?
It's typically done November. Our last meeting, up until the last meeting of the year, which is usually the first meeting in December. So, but usually end of November is when they're kind of doing that kind of stuff.
So the way I would frame it is that we also are going, I don't know, forget the exact terminology. We are going to provide the mayor and the city council with a COLA adjustment that aligns to the COLA adjustment of the M&P group in both amount and timing.
That's good.
So in that, essentially it happens at exactly the same time it does for everybody.
Exactly. Good point.
Whenever that may be. And then that covers the forward year, doesn't cover backwards, it covers forward. And then that would probably push them into the next commission before that expires.
Okay. All right. So do you want to?
Should I re-articulate that and then we can vote on it?
That would be a great idea. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Okay. So I put forth a motion that we add a COLA adjustment to both the mayor and the city council members to correspond in both amount and timing with the M&P employees of the city.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any aye? And no opposed. The motion carries. All right, great.
Now we need one for the health plan.
Okay.
I propose I put forth a motion to change the language in the health plan to both, number one, to separate the mayor from the city council and treat the mayor separately. And number two, allow the mayor to participate with single employee only coverage if the mayor elects to do so.
Second.
We have a clarification on that. What if the mayor wanted double coverage, wanted family coverage? Could she?
Then they pay. Yeah, she would have to pay for it herself.
Okay. All right.
So what we're putting forth is that the mayor is allowed to participate on the bonus plan, or I mean on the benefit plan, and is treated separately from city council. Mm-hmm. Further, the premiums for the mayor only will be covered by the city.
That's what we're agreeing to, yes.
Okay. Yeah. For mayor only. Okay, I think that makes it clear enough. Paid by the city.
If you needed to, we could add in writing the piece that says if the mayor elects family or plus dependent coverage, that is, that is at the mayor's expense.
Yeah, I think
if you needed that clarity.
Yeah, I agree.
If the mayor elects family coverage, then the incremental premium is the responsibility of the mayor.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All in favor of the motion carries. And then all right, then I guess the two remaining questions is how do we address the code, which needs to be, oh, wait a minute, the current code.
I think the code change should be within the motion itself. So I think wouldn't the motion itself essentially overwrite the code, or it would just be the qualification on item 4 in the code that Dina shared.
Yeah. So
do we need to rewrite the code? In fact, it says under item number 4 that we can look at different officials differently, and I think we just did. So I think all we did is provided the clarification for how the code works, and I'm not sure we even need to rewrite it.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Let's leave it at there. Because it's so confusing, we'll take a little more time to look it over. And if I have a different view of it, we can always reconvene. Hopefully that will not be necessary, but I'm not entirely clear on how we end up there at this point. So, but I don't think we have to decide that today.
Tell me I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, after you, Graham.
So I understand what the code issue is, just Reader's Digest version. What is the problem with the code? Are we at the FTE issue or?
No, let me get the.
No, it's just. Oh. I think it's just vague. So what Dina shared with us, what it says around benefits is that 50% of elected officials have to participate, right? That was item number 2. And then when you get to item number 4, it basically says the opposite of that.
Yeah,
it says the opposite.
The code doesn't say that. the minutes of the last two salary commissions say that that's what the rule should be. But there was never any action taken to amend the code. That's
good point. Good point. Okay.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So I think, you know, for the record, I support any changes to the code that will reflect the motions that we just agreed upon.
Second.
And because I'm not an expert in writing the code, I don't know what that is. But I think if we submit this motion and then simply say that the city attorney then needs to rewrite the code to reflect these motions, that should suffice for me. I don't know that we have the expertise to rewrite that code ourselves.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
No, it's sort of, to me, it was startling to think that the commission should have the authority to rewrite a code, because they have long tentacles, and you know it can affect other provisions.
Exactly. I'd be comfortable either way. Either the code gets rewritten, or the code is interpreted by what we just did. Either way, I'd be comfortable with.
Right. Well, I think the way the code reads right now, you know, we can. I actually think that we're okay, because without taking into consideration the actions of the two previous salary commissions, if we pretend that never happened because it never got codified, then the code as it reads right now, I think, makes our action fine, and we have the authority to do it. So I think what we can do is just maybe put in our, I don't even know that I would want to draw attention to it by putting it in the decision. I think it might be sort of a private conversation with the attorney for the city that, you know, what can we do to clean up this language? Because we spent a lot of time thinking and analyzing that the next commission really shouldn't have to do. It really should be clearer. But I think we have the authority to do it. So.
Excellent point. I agree.
Yeah. All right.
If I may speak.
I'm sorry.
If I may speak.
Yes, please.
I think that the code as is written talks about the council members. And so from my understanding of what's happening here is you're addressing the mayors. I think you need to make a clarification on what we're doing about the council members. Is it not going to be offered at all, or is it only if it's offered but they pay for it? I'm not really clear on where we're going with this.
We kept. I thought we kept the same criteria, which is the 50% of them have to want to participate for us to even, for the city or the commission to even look at it.
Except that was never actually like put into the code.
But it's in the plan, right?
It was in the decision, but it's not in the code. So that's why I feel like, are you wanting the code then to reflect the 2020 decision regarding council members?
No.
It'd be great if the code actually could address the fact that, you know, that city council members aren't eligible for benefits.
Well, it'll be whatever you guys want it to be.
Yeah, but wait, it's not whether they want benefits, it's the issue is who's paying for them. And what I'd like to see is that the city council can participate at their own expense.
What I disagree with is because it's both. The challenge with that is that if as you know, because I work with benefits constantly, it all comes, your premiums all come down to your experience rating. As you add more people to the coverage model, you risk a scenario where you have an issue where it drives your experience rating up, and it raises the cost for everybody.
Excellent point.
When you have somebody who's only working 2 hours, I don't think they should be able to participate in that plan and essentially put that plan at risk. Because at 2 hours, that's why I think if there is a code change, it should be they don't participate at all.
All right, so I agree with what the end result we're all looking for. What happens if we do nothing? That's the part.
Yeah.
You clarify.
So what
we do nothing.
I think what you're saying, what you're getting at, Graham, is that while we are talking about any revisions in that code provision, we should embed the 50% rule for council.
And we would embed it simply because the prior commissions mentioned it in their decision. But on the other side of that, Dina's saying it is not part about, it's not a part of the Snoqualmie City Code.
It's not, no, as it's published today.
All right, then I'd leave it alone.
You would not embed the 50% rule?
I have no conviction on it one way or another.
Okay.
My starting point is do nothing. And then if I'm compelled to do something, then do it. But I have no strong feelings about it.
I think I do have relatively strong feelings about
it. Then that's good enough for me.
Yeah. First of all, most organizations that aren't city related anyway, someone who just works that level of time, that little, wouldn't even be eligible for it, just based on time, for probably the very reasons that Michael has discussed. You don't want such a minimal contributor to be able to basically blow your plan out of the water. And so, and I think the council's been perfectly happy with this so far. It hasn't detracted from the ability to attract and retain good council members. So I wouldn't add that level of risk, I think.
So you're saying do nothing or draft something? I
think we probably should, because right now the code says they can participate.
All right, gotcha.
So I think we need to, so I think we would need to embed in the code the rule that's already apparently in the health plan about the 50%. So
make a motion and we'll vote on it.
Okay, can the chair make a motion?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I was raising a parliamentary question there. All right, then I would move that the section 2.36.060 of the city code be revised to reflect the ability of the mayor to participate in the city's health plan and to confirm the requirement that 50% of all council members must elect to participate. Now that's not, I'm sorry, let's go back here. Let's take the language from the plan itself. The first iteration we read was that, let's go back to the salary, to the decisions of the prior commissions and use that language.
Could we essentially write a new one that says that city council members are not eligible to participate in benefit plans, and just period?
Yes, I like that.
Oh, yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, just you forget the 50% or whatever. If we get to overwrite it, let's just overwrite it.
Yes, simple is better.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm good with that. All right. So
moved.
Second.
We'll craft that motion. Dina, do you have something?
You just want to, if it was a motion that council members are not eligible to participate in the city's health insurance plan.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. All right. So we have a motion and a second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. And then
by the way, just let me ask one question. Dina, I'm assuming there are no council people currently participating?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then the final, okay, then here's the question. The final question before us, and I don't know that this requires any action, is the question of should we address the FTA status just as a service to the next commission? Should we say in the preamble or whatever to our decision that we do not consider the FTE status of the mayor as recorded to be reflective of reality or relevant to the decision-making of the commission. The position of the mayor is not a time-based role, and any assignment of FTE status is arbitrary. Something to that effect in the decision.
Yeah, we could do that, or we could simplify it even further and just say the position of the mayor is considered a full FTE role. Now, the way exempt employees work under law, right, under the Fair Labor Standards Act, if you're an exempt employee, you get paid a certain salary irrespective of how many hours you work. Whether you work 2 hours in a week or 200, you get paid the same amount. That's that's how an exempt role works. And so this role would be the equivalent of being an exempt employee. It's an elected official, right? But it's not a non-exempt employee. So in other words, this role is not eligible for overtime. And therefore, as an exempt employee, all you would have to signify is it's considered a full FTE position. And then the amount of hours worked are irrelevant.
Right. Well,
it would not preclude another mayor from working 10 hours a week. It wouldn't preclude one from working 100. It would simply say the salary applies irrespective of the hours worked. So that's how the Fair Labor Standards Act reads. And if the question is, for an elected official, does this can't violate the Fair Labor Standards Act, but it might overwrite it. That's the question. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what I'm interested in is not having the next commission spend the time that we spent trying to track down the FTE status and look at other cities, none of which had FTE statuses, et cetera. So I was just kind of like wanted to leave something to the effect that for the purposes of the commission, the work of the commission, maybe we say the mayor is an exempt employee and the FTE status is irrelevant.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What if we do nothing?
Then the next commission goes down the same road we did. So I was just trying to save a little time.
Yeah.
I think if we say it's irrelevant, it's a little less confusing than if we say it's considered a full FTE role, because that removes all scenarios for comparison. You're not comparing it to any other part-time roles. For all other purposes, it's considered a full FTE. And so that would that would help from a benefit standpoint, because it wouldn't hit the cutoff of 32 hours and a host of other things. It would be considered a full FTE role. Okay. And the reason I brought in the Fair Labor Standards Act is because that's how exempt employees work. There's no hours. It's irrelevant. It's just you get your salary and it's considered a full FTE. So
well, let's vote on it or whatever we're going to do.
Well, I don't think we need to vote on it. I think all we need to do is draft some language to include in the decision. So just as a reference. And Michael, do you want to do that and just float something out there that Graham and I can look at? Okay.
Yeah, I'll type something up and I'll send it back to you.
Okay. So what do we have to do to wrap the meeting up now? I think we've decided.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
Please.
I think that to be an exempt employee, you have to make over $57,000 a year. So I wouldn't use the word exempt.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, see that's the old slippery slope when we start using words.
Yeah, we wouldn't be saying exempt. We would simply be saying it's considered a full FTE. That's all we're saying. I use the exempt as the example, the illustration of how exempt means it has nothing to do with FTE status. We're not going to use the word exempt. We're simply going to say for all purposes related to salary, commission, and benefit, it's considered a full FTE.
Okay.
That's it. Just really simple, and it doesn't apply to anything else. It's just for the purposes of this, it's considered a full FTE.
Yeah, you know what? That's putting the cat in the bag here, because in reality, we don't know. We don't know what then you're getting into statutory, and there are definitions, and
I agree.
Yeah. So
just kick it down. Here's my suggestion. Kick it down the road, or unless there's some compelling reason why not, give it to the city attorney and say, this is where we want to wind up. Draft the language. That's how I use lawyers. I don't try to guess or use, terms that are not terms of art and get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So kick it down the road, or kick it over to the city attorney with, this is where we want to wind up, make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know that it.
We've already spent 20 minutes on it.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
right. Well, maybe what we do, maybe we're back to Graham. Your initial gut was just let it go.
Let it go.
And let the next commission either be brighter than we were about it, or just make the same mistake.
Well, exactly. When we do nothing, no one's harmed by it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. What do you think about that, Michael? Just kick the can down the road here.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I never thought it had any relevance anyway. So.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No, I paid no attention to it whatsoever.
Okay, good. Well, I was busily trying to find some FTE status, and I asked every city about it, whether there was an FTE designation for the mayor, and they all acted like I was crazy. So.
Yeah, me too. Exactly. I asked too.
Exactly. And I asked the first time, and they said the same thing. And I'm like, oh, well, this isn't relevant at all. So I just ignored it. So
yeah.
So okay. I think again, as we've discussed and what's resulted here is we're treating the mayor as the mayor, and we're setting the compensation for the mayor as for the output of the role, and the amount of hours they work is irrelevant.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So Dina, do you have what you need from us at this point? I mean,
in terms of the salary and benefits, yes, but we still need to approve the minutes from the last 2 meetings.
Oh, okay.
Or at least review them.
All right. So we have the minutes of the February, the March 1st.
I move that we approve the March 1st minutes of the Snoqualmie Salary Commission.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, the motion carries. The draft of the March 7th minutes, and I did have some comments on that draft. Very minor comments. One is the shorthand for elect apostrophe S. Can we make that elected officials? Mm-hmm. S apostrophe.
Great.
I think that appears twice. And just for clarification, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down in the first paragraph, Commissioner Erisman indicated the need to think of the history of elected official salaries in Snoqualmie, and replacing the word "and" with 2 words, in considering any level of change. I think that was the context of it. If, as we think about change, we have to consider the history.
That seems self-evident, yes.
I'm a lawyer. Give me a break.
Listen, I'm with you.
And then I thought, again, in the first sentence of the very next paragraph, it was stated that under the elected officials' leadership, there is justification for the increases. And I would just add under consideration, because there are there were at that point 4 of them under consideration. And that was it, I think, for.
I move that the March 7th minutes be amended pursuant to Commissioner, I'm sorry, Jennifer, what's your last name?
Bragg, Jennifer Bragg.
Pursuant to Jennifer Bragg's comments. So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, motion carries. And then I guess we need a motion to approve the minutes as so amended, right? Was that actually your motion?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, that was the
that
amended minutes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so are we ready then? And now the remaining task is for Michael to draft the paragraph about. No, we're going to let that go. No drafting
down the road.
Okay, we're going to let that one go. So at this point, I guess I have to take the decision, draft the decision themselves and submit it to the 2 of you and Dina for review. And then we'll finalize.
Is that right, Dina?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I hope by the end of tomorrow, we can say we're done.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
When do we have the party?
Well, we can meet at Sigillo Cellar anytime.
Yeah, it'll be paid for by the mayor.
Okay.
There's a volunteer appreciation event is in April. You'll get invitations.
All right.
Well, hey, look, it was fun working with you all. I really enjoyed it, and it was good, spirited, healthy debate all around. I think we came to a good conclusion.
Yeah,
I do too.
Agreed.
Work with you guys anytime.
All right. So with that, we stand adjourned at 4:21 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dina.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.